Hello everyone, this is Tulani Kelvin the tutor. Today we are going to do grade 11 mathematics. We are going to do functions. We proceed with our lesson. On our last video we did two functions. We did the linear, which is known as the straight line, and we also did the parabola function or the quadratic function. So moving forward we are going to do a hyperbola function as well as the exponential function. So I'm just going to start explaining the hyperbola. So basically, the general formula for the hyperbola is this one. Is this one here, the one you were using in grade 11. So where you'll find that your asymptotes are at 0. So now things change, guys, since you are in grade 11. Well, the general equation for grade 11 is this one: y is equals to a all over p on all over x plus p plus q. So in this function we are going to have two asymptotes. We are going to have the asymptotes for x and as well as the y. So therefore the asymptotes, let me just say asymptotes. So well, for the x asymptotes we are just going to take it from here, and the y we are just going to take it from here. Okay, let me just say I'm having an equation like this: a is equal to, I'm just going to put my values at p and q only since I'm explaining the asymptotes. Therefore is a x plus 3, let me say 3 plus 4 here. So you can see now that the value of p is 3 and the value of q is 4. So therefore what's happening here, if I were to write my asymptotes for this equation, I'm just going to say x is equal to -3. Where is the -3 comes from? Basically what I did is x plus 3 is equal to 0. Therefore when you transpose 3 to the other side, it becomes a negative. That's how I got my 3. And then moving forward, for my y asymptote is going to be 4. I take as it is, nothing changes there, it's 4. So basically this is how I determine my asymptotes. Or when you are asked a question in a in the exam, and then they say give the asymptotes of the following function, maybe f of f, g of x. This is how you are going to determine your asymptotes. Well, moving forward, you still remember the a on the previous lesson. A basically, when a is the one that tells us or determines the shape of the graph. Or let me just go to the textbook. I'm still referring to mind action series, guys. I'm referring to mind action series. So determining the shape, when a is greater than 0, your graph will be on the first quadrant and as well as the third quadrant. And when the a is less than 0, meaning when a is negative, therefore your graph will be on the second quadrant and the fourth quadrant. This is how basically your graph is going to be like, you understand? But don't worry, we are going to do some examples on how I show you how we handle this kind of equation. Okay, let me clean here. So let's say suppose we're given something like 2 all over it was x. Let me just go there. X minus 2 plus 1, x minus 2 plus 1. So I have to sketch this function here. Remember, it's a hyperbola. So therefore, first of all, I'm just going to start with the shape. My shape, my a here is positive, therefore my graph will be something like this. Will be on the first quadrant and as well as the third quadrant. And therefore let me come for my asymptotes. Okay, well, my asymptotes, therefore I'm going to determine for x and y. So for my x asymptote is going to be x is equals to positive 2, and the y is going to be 1. So therefore I'm done with my asymptotes. I'm moving to my x-intercept. So you still remember when we determine the x-intercept, always in the under function we are just going to let y to be 0. Don't forget that, guys. Therefore it's going to be 0 is equals to 2x minus 2 plus 1 there, and therefore it's time for me to solve for x. Let's solve for x there. I'm going to transpose the positive 1 here to the other side. Therefore it's going to be a negative 2 all over x minus 2. Therefore I have to multiply, well, I have to simplify here. I will multiply here by x minus 2, and then I do it this side x minus 2. So therefore this will cancel with this one, and then on the other side there I'm going to have negative x plus 2. The negative here, it will affect the positive, and then it will also affect the negative here, which I'm going to have a negative x plus 2 there, and therefore on my right hand side I'm having 2, and therefore I take 2 to the other side, and therefore it's going to be x 2 minus 2, therefore is 0, x is 0. So this is not the best example, guys. Everything is on the origin, I just feel it. So let me just check for a better question. This is not a good question, guys. I'm sorry about that. Let's go to okay, I will just take number A here. Let me take A. So it was y, okay, y, x plus 1 and minus 1, x plus 1 minus 1 all over 2. So here is my equation, but you are given it as f of x there. So therefore what is going to happen here, we have to sketch the graph, remember. So let's just start with the shape. So the shape, since our e is positive, meaning that my graph is going to be on the first and the third quadrant. So therefore when we move forward, we already determined the shape, and then we have to do the asymptotes. You still remember for the x and y, the asymptotes. So therefore for my asymptote, I'm just going to say x is equal to negative 1 because of its positive here. I transpose, you still remember. Okay, let me just write it like this if you don't understand me. Well, I transpose 1 to the other side, and therefore it becomes a negative 1, and then therefore my y is just going to be negative y. I take it as it is. And therefore moving forward, we come to the x-intercept. The x-intercept, I'm going to let my y to be 0. So my f of x there is y, therefore is going to be 0 is equal to 2 x plus 1 minus 1. Therefore I transpose, therefore I'm going to have 1 or 2 all over x plus 1. I'm going to multiply both sides by x plus 1. This side by x plus 1. Therefore I simplify this one, it will cancel this one, and therefore on the left hand side I'm going to have x plus 1, and therefore is equal to 2, and therefore I transpose 1 on the other side. I'm going to have I'm going to have 1 here. My answer is 1. Therefore let's determine the y-intercept. So for the y-intercept, we let x to be 0, you still remember that. Therefore I can automatically come to my equation here where I see x I substitute with 0, so it's going to be something like this, and therefore you can simply punch on your calculator and you get your f or your y-intercept as 1. Therefore the coordinates, let me write my coordinates here, is 1 and 0, and here is 0 and 1. These are the coordinates, and therefore we are done determining everything that is important. So I will just erase here because of I don't have enough space as long as I have my coordinates. So therefore let me erase here, let me erase so when we have to sketch this graph here, don't forget to label your y-axis and also your x-axis. Please make sure that you use a ruler to sketch there, and therefore you still remember our x-asymptote. Our x-asymptote was -1, and therefore our negative is going to be in this side here of the quadrant. So let's just do the asymptote. Okay, let me use a different color. So let me draw a dotted line. Make sure that you use a ruler when you sketch so that your work can be neat and clean, you understand? So basically this is the x-asymptote, and therefore I will come for my y. My y is -1, so therefore the negative is in this direction. I construct my asymptote there. Therefore I have to plot my coordinates for, let me start with x. My x was 1 and 0, so 1 is right over here, so 0 is right, so 0 1. Therefore this is my coordinate right here, and therefore let me plot for y. Y is 0 and 1, 0 and 1, so 1 it can be right here. So therefore I'm done with plotting my coordinate. Now it's time for me to sketch my graph. So my graph will look something like this. Make sure when you sketch your graph you don't touch your asymptotes, because of when you touch that you are doing something that is wrong basically. And this one will be like this, this one will be like this. Therefore you still remember the shape was on the first and the third, is on the first and the third. This is how our graph looks like. So this is easy, guys, how to sketch the graph, it's easy, you understand, it's easy, guys. You can sketch it, you understand, if you know how to sketch. Even if when we can give you the questions, let's say here you are given as A and B, and they say determine the coordinates of A and B, and therefore you'll be able to determine the coordinates of A and B. And let's say we say C here, determine the coordinates of the asymptotes. You know, the coordinates of the asymptote is going to be what? It's going to be -1 and -1, because of here is where they meet, you understand. This -1 and -1, therefore it's -1 and -1, you understand. So you can do it as long as you know how to sketch, you know how to determine the x-intercept, the y-intercept, the asymptotes, the shape. Therefore it's easy for you to do anything that they want when you are given a sketch, you understand. And another important thing that you must know is the domain and the hyperbola. So the domain for this function, the domain for what did I say? The domain for this hyperbola and the range, the domain and the range. The domain for this function is x element of negative infinity to the positive infinity, beside where x is equals to 0, or x basically here is okay. Let me just write it like this so that you can understand, because I might end up saying something that I don't even understand, So it's something like this: negative infinity to the positive infinity. This is the range. And then when we go to the domain is for the x element of negative infinity to the positive infinity. So therefore, beside the asymptotes, this is the range, and beside the asymptotes, where x is equal to -1, where y is equal to -1. So basically these are the domains and the range. You must also know that, guys, because of those are the questions that you are going to be asked during your exams. So now let's proceed to the last function. So after the last functions, we will be done with this chapter of functions, and therefore I will also do videos where we answer the previous question papers, so that you can see how our examiners set the question papers. So the next function is exponential. It's exponential graph. So here okay, the general equation for exponential graph is y is equals to a b to the exponent x plus q. So they say if b is greater than 1, the shape is increasing from left to right, as you can see here, from left to right. Therefore this is our shape. And then if b is less than 0 or less than 1, therefore our shape is decreasing. Our shape is going to be like this. So let me just write that on our board. So basically this is the shape. When they say is increasing, meaning it is from the negative. Remember, the left is from the negative and to the right is positive. Therefore is increasing. From negative to positive is increasing. And therefore when they say is decreasing this side, when b is less than 0 and less than 1, therefore is from the right to is from basically, yeah, they start here, and therefore you understand. I can't explain this using a Cartesian plane, because of it's from right to right, therefore you understand. But we can see that this is decreasing and this is increasing, you understand. So that's how I can explain it, guys. You understand, because of I feel like I'm saying something that I don't even understand when I'm talking about the Cartesian plane while I try to explain this. But I guess you understand me. I hope you understand me. Okay, so I want us to take maybe one of the sums here on exercise 6. So let me just do number C. Number C is x 2 to the power okay, y is equal to 2x plus 2. Is it minus 1? Let me confirm. Okay, let's just start with our shape. So our shape. So let's check B. Let's go back to our notes if you did forget. So you still remember where b is greater than 1, our shape is going to be like this. But where b is less than 0 or less than 1, therefore our shape is going to be like this. And then the general formula is like this. So therefore our b is that value over here. So let's go back to our board. So our graph, meaning that is going to be something like this. Looking at b is going to be something like this. So therefore let's just go to the x-intercept. So remember, you let y to be 0. So therefore when you let y to be 0, it's going to be 0 is equals to 2x plus 2 minus 1, and therefore you transpose 1 to the other side, is going to be positive 1. So this is these are exponents, guys. You have to, if you have to solve for x here, you have to do you have to apply the rules that the exponents, you understand. You have to apply the rules that the exponents, and therefore you know that any number to the power 0 is equals to 1, and therefore we can simply write this 1 as 2 to the exponent 0. And therefore, since we are having when the bases are the same, you can drop the exponent, you still remember that. And therefore it's going to be 0 is equal to x plus 2 is going to be x plus 2, and therefore you can transpose 2 to the other side, and therefore our x is equals to the negative 2. And therefore when we come for the y-intercept, nothing changes. You still remember, let x to be 0, and therefore if we let x to be 0, where we see x, we're just going to put 0 plus 2 minus 1, and then you remember, can simply punch it on your calculator. Therefore you'll get your answer as 3. So therefore it's time for me to sketch my graph. So let me just, I found x as negative 2, I read them there at the top, y as 3, and therefore let me just create some space here, because I'm going to need the space to draw my graph. Okay, so now it's time for us to sketch our graph. Use a ruler, remember, don't forget x. So therefore, before I can sketch my graph, I have to do my asymptote. You understand? So my asymptote here is going to always, the asymptote for exponential is y. We only have one asymptote here, which is y. Is on the y axis, and therefore our asymptote is this one, meaning that in this case is going to be negative 1. Therefore I can simply, okay, let me highlight it using a different marker. I can simply do something like this, make sure that you use a ruler when you sketch. And therefore let me plot my 2, where 2 is let me say here is 2, well, this is negative. Okay, but what am I doing actually here? Because okay, this is 2 here, the negative 2. Okay, let me plot my coordinate. The coordinate is negative 2 and 0. You remember we did let y to be 0 is x and y, so y is 0, 2 is 2, and here is 0 and 3. So therefore our 3, let me put it right here and make sure that I plot my coordinate there. So therefore let me sketch. Remember, don't touch the asymptote when you sketch. Therefore this is our shape. You still remember when we started to determine the shape? So this is how basically we sketch the the exponential function. This is the last function of under this chapter. This is the last function, meaning that on the next videos we are going to check on the previous question papers. Now we can answer all the questions from the first question, you understand, about functions up to the last questions, you understand. So therefore let me just let me highlight something important: the domain and the range. Let me refer to the book. So therefore the domain for the exponential graph is going to be x element of negative infinity up to the positive infinity, and the range is going to be y element of q. Q is the value there up to the positive infinity. So that's how it is basically. Make sure that you know the following, guys. So that was it for function. On our next video we are going to look at the previous question papers where we answer functions, you understand. So we check how our examiners are set our question papers. So this is it, guys, for functions. So as long as you know how to sketch, it's going to be easy for you to determine everything when you're given a sketch. Even if maybe you will see when we get to the questions, you understand. So you will see it on our previous on our next video, I mean. You can be given A here, B, maybe C. Determine A, B, the coordinates of A, B. What is the asymptote of the function, you understand. You automatically come on your equation, or maybe on the graph. Maybe if they did label it, you can automatically take it from there, and therefore you'll be done with you will be done answering the questions, and therefore you get your full marks and you pass. You go to grade 12 and you do the same thing. You study, practice, pass. Go to tertiary, study, practice, and work. You are done. Therefore enjoy your life, you understand. So guys, I hope this video it was helpful, and then you did understand. And if you don't understand anything, don't mind to leave the comment there, and or maybe you can leave your comment at Facebook is tutors, and at YouTube is the tutors. So at Facebook is tutors and YouTube is the tutors. So if you have any questions based on this, you can automatically leave your comment either on Facebook or YouTube. And also, guys, I would appreciate very much if you subscribe to the channel, you understand, so that whenever we upload any video or anything, you will get a notification that I did upload, you understand. Thank you very much for your time. Oops.